Okay, so we teased this a while back, and now it's time to start diving into it. What we have here is a rapid fire that was converted from an original dedicated Mortal Kombat 3. And for this series of videos, we are going to be restoring this back to its former glory. You can see I already started on the corner there, just a little bit of citrus strip, let it sit for a few minutes and came right off. So my theory was absolutely correct. Now you can also see I took the control panel off, it's sitting over here. You can see here obviously that this is, someone painted this with the control panel installed, and that is more evidence of MK3. This side here is still completely black, haven't touched it at all, super dusty and dirty. And I went ahead and wrote 3 on there. And the reason I knew this was MK3 was because if you looked at it in just the right light, not sure if you'll be able to tell, if you look at it in just the right light, you can make out the 3. So I knew from looking at it that's what it was. But we're going to get this restored to its original glory, and should turn out just great. Everything is here, there's nothing missing. You know, speaker grill and marquee retainers and glass retainer, and everything is here. Unfortunately, there's holes in the control panel for the gun holders and holes in the front for the connections, and it's not something I want to mess with. So in this box I have a completely brand new control panel, CNC'd brand new control panel. A friend up in Kansas City made me this, so we're going to be building a brand new control panel. And I'm waiting on Jeff West to get his ass in gear to get me a new metal panel and a new Lexan and artwork. I fully asked you twice, dude. I'm just giving you shit. Anyways, I told him there was no hurry, but so I'm waiting on him to get me the artwork and the metal panel and the overlay and the Lexan and all that. So we got a brand new control panel in there, a new control panel in there. Easy for me to say. It's early on Sunday. I haven't woken up yet. So we'll get that all made brand new with all new wood and everything. I'll show that in a moment. But for now, the cabinet is really in just absolutely perfect condition. There's no gouges or scratches or cuts. The edge is perfect pretty much. The back is in good shape. I won't really even need to sand it. It's just really good. Yeah. I don't even know if I'll need to do anything to the back, quite honestly. A little touch up here and there, maybe some light sanding, but the back should be pretty good. The top's in good shape, just dirty. The corner, yeah, it's not bad really at all. This side either, there's no gouges or cuts or scrapes or dings or marks. It's just, I think this will clean up really, really nicely, hopefully. So let's go ahead and get this all apart and see what's going on. If there's a marquee in there, marquee ballast I should say. I don't know if there's a marquee ballast in there. The inside is very clean. The transformer is one of the cleanest transformers I've ever seen on the cabinet. Like, this was a very low hour MK3 that got converted into this rapid fire gun game, and then it was a very low hour played rapid fire gun game. So you'll see in a moment. So let me get this on the tripod and all set up, and we'll show the inside and go through all this stuff, and we'll see how the inside looks here. Alright, back door's off. I decided to go ahead and use the handheld mode here. I was going to show everything here on the tripod and just point stuff out, but it's probably going to be easier to move the camera around and such without having to zoom in and zoom out and things with being on the tripod. So inside here we have the original power supply transformer, I should say. There's the power supply. Here's the transformer. And this thing is just, I mean, it's a little bit dusty, but it's one of the cleanest, non-rusted, great condition assemblies in any of the machines I've ever seen, you know, except for the home use only MK3 that I have at the arcade. Well, I say home use only. It used to be. Now it's not, of course. Home use only up to the point when I put it in the arcade. How about that? Yeah, it's all original wiring, original everything, original cord, and you name it. Of course, the power supply has been replaced over the years, but the inside is just in good shape. You can see where the old rapid fire board used to sit on the four standoffs there. Original JAMA harness, and it's got an alarm wired in. It's hard to see, but there's this coiled up or wrapped up wires there. They run to an alarm. RF auto alarm. So that's very interesting. Never seen anything like that. And I assume there's some type of RF signal that this generates. It goes to a horn or something. But that's what this series of wiring is here. I'll tear all that out. But the original harness, JAMA harness, is in here. I mean, if I wanted to, in theory, I could just plug a board in, put a monitor in, and see if the system operates. But there's no real reason to do that just yet. But original connections, everything is here, so it should be very easy to just drop in the MK3 board, fix all the wiring up, make it nice and neat, probably replace the power supply. We'll see if it operates okay within tolerance. And the major rework is just going to be the stripping the cabinet down, cleaning it up, getting the control panel redone, and calling this done. It should be a quick and easy restoration. The T-molding is in really good shape. I think it's been replaced in the past. I don't think I'll need to replace the T-molding. Yeah, it's in pretty good shape. I don't think it's got hit right there. Darn it. I could probably shave that off. I have enough T-molding to redo all the cabinet, but there's no real reason to just for this one little ding here. But on the front, it's a bit short. It's a bit short there, and it's a bit short there. And it goes all the way to the ground. I may be able to shift it up a bit. Same thing over here. I think somebody replaced the T-molding without removing the control panel, and they couldn't get a hammer in here to hit the very top of it. But I may be able to salvage these without having to replace any of this. So the T-molding is fairly okay. I might be able to work some trickery and not have to replace any of it. But I do have some if I need to, so no big deal. The front is really good shape. I mean, this is really a fantastic example of a quick and easy restoration. It should be a very good example of an MK3 once I'm done with it. Somebody painted over the front, I think, in the past, because they painted over the Midway serial number sticker here. But that's no big deal. All right, so I think I'm going to have to get the camera on the tripod, and then we'll bust open our new control panel and go through all of what's in that box, and then start working on citrus strip. I may, now that I think about it, I may go ahead and start taking out the monitor bolts, taking the brackets out. Let me go back here. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, I actually got this cabinet for free. A local friend, also an arcade enthusiast, he had a couple of games that had monitor issues, and in exchange, he picked this up for fairly cheap. I forget how much it was, fairly cheap. A couple $100, $150, something like that. So in exchange for fixing his monitors, he let me have the cabinet for nothing. So I got this for basically the cost of labor of fixing a couple of monitors. But the monitor that was in here was the original Hanorex Polo, believe it or not. This is just an all original cabinet. It was just converted to the rapid fire and in great shape. I couldn't believe it. Why someone would do that. Anyway, so the original monitor, the original Hanorex Polo that was in here, he needed to keep that for his Neo Geo project. I said, sure, take it, because I got monitors. So the monitor was missing, but I got the entire cabinet, everything all kit and caboodle. He kept the actual PCB as well. Everything for free. So I couldn't complain about that one bit. So I think what we'll do is we will take out the monitor brackets and the bolts and the T-molding, lay this down, start putting the citrus strip on here, and it's important to only do one section at a time. If you leave the citrus strip on this cabinet, or any of the cabinets that you ever use citrus strip on, for more than about 15-20 minutes, it'll start to turn anything that's white to mush, like oatmeal mush, and it'll just take the artwork right off the cabinet. So you want to do it in sections, about, I don't know, 3-foot sections, and let it sit for 15-20 minutes, and then start scraping it off, and then go to the next section, because if you just do the whole cabinet, you have a chance of having some of that white areas get turned to mush. So I like to do it just in sections, and you'll see that. So I'm going to actually get this all apart on a time lapse, set it up, get my first section of citrus strip going on doing its thing. While that's going, then we'll tear this apart and check out the control panel stuff. So let's get that all done and see how that turns out. we got the citrus chip cooking over here, and it's time now to open up our new control panel. So there it is. We got, they sent me one for MK, let's see, I think this is MK1 and 2. MK1 and 2 is what this one is. This one is MK3, obviously, with the dust washer routed out the way it's supposed to be. Then we got the back piece, the bottom piece, the front, and the sides. All T-molding routed out, everything perfect. So yeah, pretty awesome there. We'll have to assemble it, of course, but we can use the parts and pieces from the original panel, and so hopefully it turns out fairly well. I will need to sand it down a bit, probably put a coating of filler on it to fill in the areas that need it, but for the most part, maybe not. It's been sanded pretty well. We'll see how it turns out. I'll do a test run on whether vinyl will sit flat or not. So yeah, we'll set this aside for now and probably do a whole section itself just on the construction of the new panel. But now I have to wait. There's not really much else I can do in the meantime. I have to just wait for the citrus strip to work its magic, and then we'll start scraping it off and see how it turned out. right, about 1/4 of the way done. You saw there, sometimes it takes multiple coats. I didn't want to leave the initial coat on too long, so I was able to scrape off what I needed to and then put the second coat on, leave it run. But yeah, results are pretty darn good so far. I need to change the type of scraper I'm using because it is getting rather, it does take a bit too much off here, but it's not overly too bad. Still, I mean, this is just, I had to go and use the magic erasers with some alcohol on the stubborn parts. But as you can see, I mean, it's just pretty much perfect now. Really, there's a couple of dings here I didn't notice because of course they were painted black. But that's no big deal. I can actually touch those back up again. You'd never know. Put a little black along the edge here. But so far, it's turning out fantastic. So let's get the camera back on the tripod and continue on with the bottom half, and we'll finish up this side. Okay, one side complete. Overall, not bad. There was a little bit of swelling down here that caused some of the art to be a bit damaged. When I was scrubbing on it with the magic eraser, it kind of erased some of the art, kind of lightened it up a bit, but there's nothing I can do about that. It's a very slight swelling that you can only really see in the right sunlight, and I didn't see it with the black on there, but not a big deal. There is a scrape across right here I didn't see with the black, but again, not too big of a deal. And it did get a little thin some areas where there was excess paint. I did touch up a couple of scratches right there, but overall, not bad. Considering how it was, I'll take this all day long. So in the interest of not making an excessively long video, I'm going to actually, you saw the process. Sometimes it takes a couple of coats of citrus strip. One coat won't work depending on how thick the paint is and what type it is. Sometimes it'll take a couple of coats of the citrus strip. So you saw the process here that it takes to kind of restore this. So in the interest of not having a super long video, I'm actually going to do the other side off camera. So we can have basically the entire cabinet done as far as the stripping and revealing of the artwork. Then I need to clean up the black areas and wipe it down and remove the speaker grill and get it painted and get all the dust and grime and everything off the top and around. And that'll pretty much complete the cabinetry work that's needed for this restoration. And we'll proceed from that point, deciding on what else we want to do for this part. Maybe just wrap this part up and having just this part one be the cabinet restoration. I can't say just yet. So, but you can see how this side turned out very well. I'm happy with the result. It's not perfect. There are some areas that look like it was sanded a bit. Like if you look here, it's hard to tell. It looks like there's someone sanded this with something, or it's very odd. It's right here too. It's hard to tell, but regardless, like I said, I'll take this result all day long. So all right, I will get going on this opposite side, and when I come back, I'll have this entire opposite side done. And then the cabinet, why are you losing focus there, you piece of junk? All right, well, maybe not. Yeah, I gotta wipe this down. We'll do this entire side, then we'll reveal how well this turned out. And then we'll get working on the rest of the cabinet, taking the grill off, painting it, getting it all wiped down, seeing if the ballast works, and the bulb, and getting the front touched up, and all that. So stay tuned. When I come back, I'll have this side done, and we'll proceed on. Okay, just like that, here is the other side. The only problem with this side is right here. This was being hidden by the black paint. When I mentioned before, there were no gouges, scrapes, cuts, what have you. I did not see this because this was hidden by the black paint. So unfortunately, got these two giant divots in here, but there's not much I'm going to be able to do about that. I can try and touch it up, but touching it up will only make it look worse than it is now. Other than that, it's not too bad. There's a couple of scrapes here, but yeah, I mean, otherwise not really that big of a deal. Not perfect, but I can only do so much with what was there before. So, yep, this side not too bad, and except for right there, I'd say pretty good turnout. Probably should have angled this better where I had more light, but yeah, so both sides now done. I need to go through and clean up stuff like this, but overall, very happy with how it turned out. So there we go. I didn't notice this till just now. So I can toss some black on that. That's not a big deal, but things like this, there's not really much I can do. Otherwise, I think it isn't too bad. So there's the cabinet. Let me get it all cleaned up and wiped down and touched up where and how I can, and things like this fixed up and cleaned. And I took, while I was waiting for the citrus strip to do its thing, I cleaned and painted the speaker grill. So we'll get that back on. After that's on, we'll get the T-molding back together, and the cabinet itself will be pretty much done. And that'll probably end the first part here. So let me get this all cleaned up and back together and fixed and wiped down and touched up where I can, and we'll see what happens from that point. Okay, after about the last 2 hours of gnashing my teeth and throwing my fist at the air, I finally got this thing up and going. I think when I last left you, I had cleaned up the cabinet, put the T-molding in, got the monitor in, and then I realized that it needs an isolation transformer. This is a K7000 I threw in here. The Henrix Polo, if you like Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat 3, if they came with a Henrix Polo, there's no isolation transformer built into the main transformer. You have to add a secondary one. So I figured that out before I turned it on. Fortunately, I realized from previous experience that it probably doesn't have an isolation transformer. So I didn't mention that before, but as we can see, T-molding is in. This side cleaned up very nicely, except for the scratches there on Sindel's hip, which we showed before. So this side is good to go, except for some touch-ups I might have to do later. The front is good, got that all cleaned up and wiped down. This side is fared much better than the other side as far as damage. It did have some areas where it got a bit thin from the rubbing the paint off because the paint was super thick, but otherwise not too bad. So yeah, I would say this turned out very well. Very happy with it. Also, the marquee bulb obviously works. We're going to disconnect it for now so it's not in our way. And yeah, I got the PCB just kind of dangling here. It's original MK3, which is what I mentioned before. This is going to be converted obviously back to original MK3. The power supply is on the fritz. It's a piece of junk. You try and adjust it slightly and it shuts off, and you have to give it 5 minutes before it to reset. I'm running a gamble here, even having it operational or running it while it's possibly bad, but I think it'll be okay for testing. I got the isolation transformer installed, and then it runs up here to the K7000. I haven't cleaned up any of the wiring just yet. So that'll be about it for part 1 here. Got the top cleaned up and the back cleaned up. So other than getting the control panel rebuilt with the new parts and pieces, and getting all the artwork on that, and getting the control panel all squared away, getting it installed, getting the marquee. I'm getting an MK3 marquee from Jeff, and that should come in. So apart from the control panel, the marquee, and final cleanup and touch up and mounting and everything inside, that's about it. So part 1 took care of a lot of stuff. Yeah, part 2 is probably going to be maybe just the control panel, and then we'll do a dedicated part 3 for the final reveal of everything. But I got the monitor adjusted, colors, brightness, contrast. The monitor is looking and working perfectly, so that's a big headache that's out of the way. And so yeah, stay tuned for part 2 when we get the control panel done and the final touches complete. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and it's been quite the it's been about 8 hours or so since I started, so about an 8-hour adventure to get this thing all cleaned up. So yeah, very happy with the turnout. Couldn't ask for anything better. It's unfortunate there's some scrapes and scratches and stuff, but with all the paint on there, I thought this would turn out, not that this didn't turn out great, but I was hoping for a bit of a better turnout with after revealing that 3 and how good a condition that 3 was in. But the bottom of the cabinet was slightly swollen on both sides. That's why you see all this down here, because just scraping it off with the scraper, the raised ridges from the swelling kind of caused that. But you know, it's really not that big of a deal. Anyway, so yeah, I'm kind of rambling on here, but I sure say that a lot, don't I? But I say a lot. I apologize. If you guys are picking up on that, I apologize. I'm not very articulate. You'll have to forgive me. So, I just did it again. Enough rambling. Stay tuned for part 2. Thanks for watching all this part 1 here. And hopefully this will go very swimmingly. Hopefully as swimmingly as this did. And then we'll call this a completed restoration. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.